bit of advice on setting your release date. Don't even think about setting the release date until you've got all your audio and all your artwork. I know that sounds quite basic, but you'd be surprised how many artists just leave it to the last minute and then it's only on iTunes on release date because like Spotify takes a week. So it's not on Spotify on release date, and then if a lot of your fans just use Spotify, they're gonna basically miss the buzz about the release on its release date. As well as that, if you're planning a launch night, a gig, a tour, whatever, get that booked before you set your release date, because the timelines you'll have to work for booking shows will be longer than distributing a release. So get all that in place and then set your release date and then service your release to your distributor. I've put service your release to EmuBands there. You are allowed to use other distributors. No, you're not actually. So yeah, the more time you allow, the more service will have it live on release date. If you are working towards one particular release date, you can consider a pre-order strategy. If you're aiming for the charts, you know, not everyone will sell enough. You do need to be able to sell a few thousand in the first week to be able to hit the charts. But certain stores will automatically make releases available for pre-order, which means people can pay for them before the release date and then just download them on the release date. And crucially, what that does is it combines all of the sales from the pre-order period into the first week's sales for the release, so that the chart, the sales for the charts are all, you're basically getting about a month's sales into 1 week. So it's a really good way just to kind of boost your initial chart position if you're aiming for the charts. So I mean, you've got two options. You can self-release or you can sign to a record company and they can do it all for you. But a lot of people think record companies are these magical companies that are going to make you a fortune, but all a record company actually is any entity that has the right to sell a recording. So if you're an independent artist and you record your own track, effectively you are a record company because you've got the right to sell that track. So an unsigned band is a record label. It might not be a recognised label, but the concept of it is that an unsigned artist is the same as a label. I mean, there are benefits to signing to a record company. I'm not telling everyone that you should do it yourself. It totally depends on each artist, what they want, whether they want a record deal, whether they want to do it themselves. One of the main things that an artist would look for in a record deal is the investment, the advance, you know, some money to be able to go and record and to be able to live. Unfortunately, advances are getting smaller and smaller as the recording industry is struggling, but it's still possible to get an advance. Two of the main things would be their marketing expertise, because obviously you've got your record, you want to just concentrate on writing more records and gigging and doing the kind of creative side of being an artist, whereas, you know, the label can look after all the kind of marketing side for you. So that's probably the major benefit of it, is just their expertise. They'll have all the contacts in place with PR companies and pluggers, and obviously they'll have the distribution deals in place so they can do all that for you. And obviously their contacts and their networking. The idea being that signing to a record company should be able to get you further in your career than you would be able to do yourself. But there are also benefits to doing things yourself. The main one being you're always in control. And I can't stress how important I think that is. I mean, this is my opinion. As I said, there's no right and wrong in this. It's up to each artist. I mean, I've been in a position where I've managed a band who signed to a record company who quickly became incredibly useless. And, you know, they sat on the album for about 2 years and didn't put it out. And it was an incredibly frustrating experience for that band. And they ended up splitting up because there was no point, because the record company were just sitting on the album. So if they were in control, they'd have been able to say, right, we're putting this album out, we're doing it ourselves, this is our plan. Not all record companies are big bad companies, by the way. That's just one particular very useless record company that I'm not going to name. The other thing as well is when you are self-releasing, the royalty rate you will earn is obviously going to be higher. Because if we looked at those two graphics earlier on, all those percentages being cut out of the royalty, you get all of the royalty if you're doing it yourself. So it's whether, you know, what you've got to weigh up is, okay, you might sell more if you're signed to a record deal, but what you earn per unit will be less. So again, it's up to each individual artist what they want to do. And this is where, I mean, I've had bad experiences with record companies, so I'm maybe a wee bit biased. But, you know, if you are offered a record deal, the question you've got to ask yourself, are they worth giving control to? Until you sign a record deal, you are a record label. You are your own record label. But for an unsigned artist, you're also a manager, you're also a publisher, you're also a booking agent, you're a PR company, you're everything to do with the artist until you start, the phrase I use is upgrading the team. So you build a team around the artist. Obviously one of the first ones would probably be a manager, and then you sign a record deal, and then you sign a publishing deal, and then you sign to an agent. And as you go along, you kind of upgrade each member of the team so that you don't have to actually do as much yourself. But DIY doesn't actually mean you have to do everything. I prefer a phrase CIY, control it yourself. So you can actually outsource different parts of the job to different companies. And then as you get bigger, you upgrade the team that's around the artist until you're happy with it.